Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we honor and celebrate and praise those who are truly making significant contributions in our communities, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I want to thank Wilkes Communications and River Street Productions and 100.9 WIFM for the sponsorship. My featured guest today is Tim Cole. He's the Vice President of Manufacturing for Unifi. He's in Yadkinville, and he's a Purdue graduate. He's a professional engineer, and he's also a person that I've really enjoyed getting to know, and he's a real easy person to communicate. And make sure you stay with us, because this is going to be a most interesting morning for you. So thanks for being part of our show today, Tim.
It's my great pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. And we're with Unifi, and we'll get to Reprieve in a minute, but just give us an overview of Unifi Corporation and its mission and what it does.
Sure. So Unifi is headquartered in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Unifi began in North Carolina in Yadkinville back in 1971. Unifi is a publicly traded public company and traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So we are a publicly traded company, but we are headquartered in North Carolina, and most of our manufacturing is in North Carolina, and very proud to be here. And
you've been here for a couple, you said you came twice, and tell us about what is the VP of Manufacturing, what does she or he do?
Right, so in North Carolina, Unifi has manufacturing plants in Yadkinville, Reidsville, and Madison. The largest one being in Yadkinville, and as you know, we spin polyester fiber there and we texture polyester fiber there. The plant in Reidsville is where we dye polyester fiber and other fibers to make dyed fibers that we sell to knitters and weavers. And in Madison, we have a plant where we texture polyester, but also a lot of nylon, and we make covered yarns there, which is with covering we apply spandex with other synthetic fibers to make stretch fibers, and that's often used in hosiery.
Yep.
And so that we have the plant in Madison as well, and then recently in 2015, we added to the bottle recycling plant on the site in Reidsville, where we now take plastic drink bottles and we turn them into flake, which then becomes the raw material that we use in Yadkinville.
And we call that Reprieve, and is that?
Correct. So Reprieve is Unifi's trade name for fibers that made from 100% recycled content. While we do use the majority of drink bottles in that fiber, we also will use some industrial waste as well. Okay.
Tim Cole, I had visited your plant a couple weeks ago, and for our audience, here's a bale of these plastic bottles that we're talking about.
Right.
And tell us a little bit about, well, let's go back to Reprieve and tell me how it started.
Right. So Unifi in 2007 was looking for ways to reduce some of their raw material costs and started recycling their own fiber waste back into spinning new fibers. And with that venture, they found a customer who was interested in that recycling story. That customer was Polartec, who makes fleece, and Polartec also helped get on board the North Face, and that was a foothold where Unifi found there was an interest in fiber that was from recycled content. And so then Unifi started growing and put in their own machine to convert the fiber waste into pellets that then would allow us to spin the fiber. And eventually then started putting the bottle flake in. So today we make Reprieve out of, if a customer wants Reprieve from totally post-consumer, completely from bottles, we can offer them a fiber made totally from post-consumer waste, or we can offer them a fiber that's a combination of post-consumer and industrial waste.
Tim Cole, tell us again, make sure we really get into this. Now, talk about from the bottle
Yes.
to the next step and the next step. Just simply do that for me.
Right. So the very first step in the process for Unifi is to take the bale bottles, and we get the bale bottles from the recycling facilities who are handling the recyclables that are collected in the communities.
Okay.
And these are typically run by municipalities, but they can be private interests as well. So we'll take those bale bottles and we will take the bales, we'll break the bales, we'll sort the bales because sometimes there are some aluminum cans left in the bales, there may be some paper waste left in the bales, and there may be bottles that are of a different polymer. So I do need to step back and say, the bottles we want are made from polyester.
Okay.
That's the polymer. Your Gatorade, I'm sorry, your sports drink bottles
Okay.
and your water bottles are typically made from polyester.
Okay.
Your detergent jugs and your milk jugs are typically produced from polypropylene and polyethylene. So it's a different polymer. To make the high quality fiber that we produce, we want the polyester.
Okay.
So in our sorting process, we can sort the polyester out from the polypropylene, polyethylene bottles. We actually use near infrared camera technology to do this automatically.
Really?
And so after we sort the bottles, the next challenge for us is to take that polyester bottle, drink bottle, and we're going to have to get the labels off.
Okay.
So we will delabel those
So
bottles.
we're in this cleaning process right now. Is that?
It's kind of a cleaning process,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So we will clean and delabel the bottle, and we'll actually do that with the caps still on them. So the caps are also not polyester. So it's the next step where we do another separation. So we will grind the bottles into a flake, and then that flake is washed again, and then we use something called a float sink tank, and the polyester flake sinks. And the caps, which are polypropylene, float. And we will separate the caps and any remaining pieces of the label through the float sink tank. And that gives us pure polyester flake that then we dry and we bag and we ship to Yadkinville. In Yadkinville, we melt, extrude that flake, and during the extrusion process, we run it through filtration to remove any contaminants. And we make a chip then from that flake. So now we have a polyester chip that's totally recycled content.
You want to show us that? Is this
Sure.
here?
So in this display, it's the white pellets.
Okay.
And that would be the chip. In this display, it's probably hard to see, would be the flakes
Flake.
that are simply the pieces of the water bottle.
Right.
So we
The flake is pieces of the water bottle. Okay.
Correct. So we take the pieces of the water bottle, we extrude them, we turn them into the pellet, and then we'll go into our spinning machines. And in our spinning machines, we melt the pellets to make a fiber.
Okay.
And that fiber is a normal polyester fiber, as has been used for years to make fabric and to make clothes out of. So we produce the fiber in Yadkinville, and then we will sell that fiber to a mill who would knit and weave it, and that would be the first step in making it into either a garment or it could go into a car
So
seat.
it could be part of this cap that you gave me when I visited your office,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. So this is a cap that was made 100% from our Reprieve fiber.
Right.
And this Reprieve fiber came from polymer that was in a drink bottle.
Right. And the socks?
Yes, the socks as well. As you can see, we can make, the Reprieve fiber in any color that the customer wants. And also many times the customer will make the fabric and dye it the color they want as well. But the Reprieve fiber made from the drink bottles is just as good as the fiber. It can go in any application that the competing virgin polymer could go into.
Okay. Let's talk about the different applications of your product to go to people's. And did you say food packaging? And tell us some other things.
Sure. So our flake plant's very big. We process more than 2 million pounds per week of bottles, which means we're processing about 40 million bottles a week. So we make an awful lot of flake. We make over 1 million pounds a week of the flake. Now we don't currently consume that much internally, so our surplus flake we will sell mostly to people making food packaging, and that might be the plastic trays in your fast food salad. It might be the packaging for something you buy at the store. We also sell it to people who make strapping. So if you have a warehouse and you're strapping pallets together, that plastic strapping may have come from our flake.
Really?
We also produce more chip than we currently use in our spinning plant. So we also sell that as well. And some of the end users of it, we do have one company that makes more bottles out of it, so that we actually have bottle flake going back to bottles. And we also sell some to companies who make non-woven products. And that might be like the insulated material under the hood of your car,
yeah,
or under the
Ford
trunk.
Motor Company is a big customer.
Yes, so we're real proud that Ford Motor Company is using our Reprieve fiber, and it's being knitted and made into the seats in all the Ford F-150 pickup trucks. The ones that have cloth seats have Reprieve fiber in the seats.
Wow. Your sales force, are we calling on a lot of customers who are not using any of it now, or how do you cultivate that business?
So there's two ways. Unifi first tried to sell to the knitting and weaving mills, and it's not cheap to make fiber out of recycled content. So there wasn't a lot of incentive for them to switch from a virgin raw material to a recycled, because it's not cheaper. So what Unifi, where they found success, was when they talked to the brands. Because the brands, and when we talk about brands, it might be like Hager, who sells slacks, or Levi's, who sells jeans, or North Face, who sells coats. They're connected to the customer and the community who has the consciousness.
Consciousness, well, that's a great word.
Right. And so there we found the entrance in that sustainable story, and the brands helped pull our product back through the mills.
Wow.
Because there's got to be, to drive recycling and the value of sustainability means that not only do people have to collect the material to be recycled, but there's got to be a need for that, what's been collected.
Yeah.
And by the customers who are conscious about the environment and sustainability demanding the products to have recycled content in it is what pulls that recycling through and makes it a value.
Right. So when this idea of recycling, is it something that we think, you said that consciousness, the customer likes to see, well, golly, these folks are recycling. Is that part of the marketing?
For sure, for us, we do a fair amount of marketing, like we said, to brands. An example might be Target. We go to Target and we say, you have a lot of customers who care about the environment. So now Target is using Reprieve fiber and having it turned into swimsuits, and they have an entire swimsuit line made out of Reprieve. And so it is really a customer-driven phenomenon.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate that people now are conscious about the environment and want to do more for it.
Yeah.
And we're happy to provide a means to that.
Tim Cole, we say Patagonia. Are there some more brands you can share with us?
Sure, Patagonia is a big brand.
Tell us about the National Parks initiative.
Right, so the North Face brought a great idea to us. So through the North Face, they talked with the national parks, and they have got the national parks collecting all their drink bottles. And the national parks now ship the drink bottles to us in Reedsville, and we're converting those drink bottles into Reprieve fiber. The fiber's getting made back into t-shirts that the North Face is selling back, North Face is providing the t-shirts to the national parks, and the national parks are selling the shirts. And my understanding is $1 out of every shirt also goes back into the national parks funds for them to maintain the parks.
Wow.
So it's a great program where we're making a full circle with the recycling to make a valuable product that also helps our National Park Service.
Wow. And how many bottles are we doing a year now?
So Unifi is recycling, I think I said it was about
20% of bottles are recycled, is that right?
My understanding is that recycling rates in the U.S. got up, for bottles, drink bottles, got up above 30%. And here in the last couple of years, it's slipped down to 28%. So we think there's a huge opportunity in the U.S. to recycle a lot more of our drink bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And we would certainly like for programs like yours, to help people understand that there's value in recycling these materials and making good use of them. Again, we're going to reuse the polymer, and then that saves us from energy, from more oil, it saves on water, and it will ultimately help our environment.
The moment that Reprieve became a driving force, was that a story that, tell us about in 2007, again, that moment of, that eureka moment, if you will.
Yeah, and it was, for Unifi, it started really as a way to try to save costs because the business environment was really tough. So they started by trying to recycle their own waste. And when they started recycling their own waste to make fiber, then they said, hey, there's opportunity here. Can we recycle more than just industrial waste? Can we recycle bottles as well? And I think that's when it really started to take off, that it was, providing a recycle service. So it was more than us selling a fiber now.
So that eco-friendly concept that drives the business?
It very much drives that part of our business, which is the fastest, the best growing part of our business.
And you also do polyester and nylon, but Reprieve is 30% of those $700 million, is that?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure the exact percentage of the sales, but it's somewhere 30 to 40% of what we sell is Reprieve fiber. We actually offer a nylon Reprieve as well, but we've been challenged to find a post-consumer source on nylon. Mm-hmm. So it's a post-industrial recycled nylon. And that may be something that's less
You
important.
received a national award from the Flagler School at Carolina for being eco-friendly. Let's talk about that.
So I think we're the first sustainability company award winner from North Carolina University's Flagler School.
Yes.
We're the first recipient. We're very proud of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
We've also begun to help our brands tell their stories of sustainability, we've been offering sustainability awards to our brands where we recognize those brands that have helped us recycle millions of bottles.
Wow.
And that way that their employees can see what they've done as well.
Sure. Again, this 100% recycled fiber, share that so our audience will have a better understanding, if you will.
So today, as we talked about, we make Reprieve fiber from 100% recycled content.
100%.
We have that in both 100% post-consumer versions, which would be where it's 100% from the drink bottles, but we also market and sell to those customers some that would be industrial content. And I do need to talk about that a little bit. When we talk about the industrial or the non-post-consumer part of our recycling, a lot of that is to also help our customers. So what we will do is, if a customer is making a fabric and it might be a headliner for a car fabric, and the trim off the edge, we'll take that back and recycle that into fiber as well.
Wow.
So when we talk about the industrial recycling part, it's also to make the whole business stream, the whole process stream, our downstream customers, also help them in their recycling. So we do work with a lot of our customers on what we call fabric take-back recycling. And that's when we talk about that some of Reprieve may have industrial contact. That's because that allows us to help our customers. That's why it's not only bottles.
Right.
We want to help our customers with their processes as well.
My guest today is Tim Cole, and he's Vice President of Manufacturing for Unifi. And I was so impressed with the tour of how clean things are. That culture, can you share that, the meaning of it was just absolutely spotless inside and outside?
Gary, we've got a great bunch of employees, and as you saw, we have very nice facilities. And keeping the housekeeping up, keeping the maintenance up is all part of making a very good quality product. And we are, we're selling our products through some of the biggest brand names in the world.
Yeah. So you're on stage all the time?
Yes.
Right.
And it's thrilling to see, for us though, also to see the type of customers who visit Yadkinville, because that also helps us make the final sale many times. Is when General Motors comes and visits, or when Ford comes and visits. It also shows that we make a quality product, not just a recycled product.
Right.
So thank you for noticing that.
Yes, sir. It's just, I was in awe when I left. And, I can even remember your associate at the guard booth, how mannerly, how professional. I just said, wow, they're doing it from start to finish. They're serious about Reprieve.
Well, and as you also know, we're blessed by the great people of this state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
We have a high quality workforce, people who care about what they do, great work ethic, and we're very fortunate to be here in North Carolina where we're at.
Yeah. Are there some new things on the horizon that maybe just vision things that we could glean from some of the things you're saying today?
Well, I guess for Unifi, new things on the horizon, we're always working on new products. And one of the ones that's really exciting for us today we're working on is something we call engineered stretch. So today, a lot of people are wearing fabrics that are high stretch. And so to get that high stretch, they have spandex in them. Unfortunately, the process that produces spandex is not a very environmentally friendly process. So today we are working on a polyester, we call it engineered stretch, that makes a stretch fiber that can go into fabric that has no spandex. And that's one of the real exciting developments that Unifi is working on. so that we can hopefully make some more environmentally friendly fabrics.
And you also told me that you also have your own lab. You're doing research and
Right. So we actually have a couple. In Yadkinville, we have some fiber development lab. And then in Madison, we have a weaving lab, in which we talked about, where we can we actually made these socks in our weaving lab in Madison. And that allows us to produce products to show to customers. And so it's the easiest way to tell somebody that Reprieve makes good products is by showing them a sample of what you can make out of it.
yeah.
So we do that. We have that lab in Madison, North Carolina, in Rockingham County. And I didn't mention we have a third lab, and it's called a fabric analysis lab. And in Reedsville, we have a fabric analysis lab where we can take a fabric, say a customer wants us to give them a fabric that looks like something maybe their competitor brought them. We can take that fabric to our fabric analysis lab. We can totally take the fabric apart, and we can determine what kind of fibers are in it, what kind of technology in. And that allows us to hopefully then give them a Reprieve product where they can make a fabric just as good, performance-wise, but use a recycled content instead of a virgin.
I also learned that every hour there are 2.5 million bottles that could be recycled. Is that right?
Yes.
Every hour. Wow.
It's a huge opportunity.
So back to the bales, waste management, would that be a supplier? Do they have a plant where they combine these things?
Right. So most of the recycling in America is through what we often call curbside recycling. You know, at the curb, you know, in your house, you've probably got two bins. Right. A red bin that you put your trash in, and a green bin you put your recyclables in. And you're putting everything in that bin. You're putting paper, you're putting milk jugs, you're putting pop cans, and you're putting soda bottles in that. Well, that is collected probably by either your county or your city, and it goes to materials recovery facility. A lot of them some of them are run by Waste Management. They're one of the larger companies that do that. So they sort that material back out into the different streams. As we've talked about, we want the polyester bottles.
Right.
They're also sorting out the aluminum cans. They'll sort out the glass. They'll sort out the paper. And then they're going to bale each of those streams separately so that they can market that to the recyclers. Mm-hmm. And yes, most of our raw material comes from the municipalities after it's been collected at the households.
Example would be uniforms that folks use in yoga classes or something of that nature. Is that part of it?
I don't know so much about yoga classes, but I will tell you that Chick-fil-A uses a lot of Reprieve in their uniforms.
Really?
Yes, and there are others. We've had a lot of success. We have our process is proprietary as far as the way we convert the flake into chip. The spinning processes are common around the world. How we spin and can be used for virgin or Reprieve. But the really unique technology for us is in converting that flake into chip, yes.
What a wonderful experience I've had today in the education of learning about Reprieve. And to my attention, I was at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon in Yadkinville several months ago, and Reprieve was the topic. And I said, wow, and I love the name, you know, like Second Chance.
Yeah.
You know, being a Reprieve. So Tim Cole, what an honor to have you here. And I want to thank Wilkes Communications and River Street and that you would come up here. I mean, this is a real important moment in people doing good for others. And I'll now turn it back and just if you'll kind of put all that together and tell us how, I'm sure you're grateful for the opportunity that you have about sustainability. I think that's a huge part of what we're doing right now.
So Gary, it's my pleasure to be here with you today, and we, Unifi, appreciates your show and anybody who's communicating the value of recycling and promoting sustainability. And your programs help the community awareness, and we greatly appreciate the opportunity. Unifi, we are trying to be the most sustainable fiber producer in the world.
In the world.
We're trying to set ourselves separate, and we greatly appreciate the recognition.
Yeah.
It has been reprieve, and through sustainability has revitalized Unifi as a fiber producer.
Wow.
And so that's how it's very important to us. And what will help Unifi the most in continuing our story is when the community recycles and when the community and the customers ask for sustainable products.
Right.
Because that drives the circle. You know, recycle that bottle and then go buy a garment that has that bottle in it. You know, go buy you a coat from North Face that has a bottle in it, or go buy a car or a truck that has seats made from recycled bottles, and you drive that value and help the environment.
So we have Reprieve, R-E-P-R-E-V-E, and I also want to thank Meg McDonald was a key player in bringing us together. Smitty Williams and your human resources there. Barry Shore was in on bringing me up to speed. So you've blessed us in countless ways, education and sustainability. I'm all in for that. So thank you for being here.
It's my great pleasure.
Tim Cole,
Thank you.
what an honor. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.